Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for my client Saif's vlog. And this week was a little rough for him because it's this final week of his job that is very physically demanding. He's changing jobs so that we can, he can have better quality of life and that we can get better training in because his biceps are really bothering him this week. So squatting on his 95% training max, he got a double. This is 190 kilos, which is, a little bit over 400 pounds for the Americans. He got 2 reps. Of course, he felt like he lost his step there, so he had to end it short. And afterwards, we do assistance work with sets of 10 on the safety bar squat. Right? We do safety bar squats so that, again, we don't put much stress on his shoulder or bicep outside of his heaviest work. Then he does belt squats, which you guys know I'm a fan of, steel rows, and reverse hypers. And I'm definitely admiring the fact that he's got a steel row bench. I can neither find one at a reasonable price, and I'm kind of on limited floor space for now. I think until I eventually get around to building that attachment, the donkey attachment for my reverse hyper. So, steel rows, man. I got so many clients who have access to them now, and I don't. Kind of sucks. What do you do? All right, but we do belt squats, steel rows, and reverse hyper extensions on his squat day. So really, though, this is a ton of leg work. Even though he does a squat, bench, and deadlift day, he's one of my few clients who still kind of trains in this way. He enjoys it. He's made good gains on it, so I let him run with it. And he's not the only one. I do have some others, and it's only because they enjoy it. And I'm letting them do it because of that, because they don't want to do conjugate for whatever reasons. So I can still program off this. We can program off of it just fine. So again, here's his seal rows. And we couldn't get the seal rows to load. Couldn't get them to load at all, unfortunately, for his deadlift day. But we did do them twice this week. But yeah, as far as the quad work goes, it's a lot of quad work. But I'm also focusing on the reverse hypers. We're doing them twice a week, and he does good mornings on deadlift day. So we do want to get that posterior chain caught up. And his hamstrings are growing, but still posterior chain is a limit. He's a lot stronger on the interior side. It's way stronger. And we're going to switch to sumos for a little while for a phase. He wants to try them out. He wants to see how his strength is because he used to always be stronger on sumos because, we've reached a point where his deadlift isn't really out of his squat when he does conventional. All right, bench pressing, because his bicep was hurting so bad, and again, this is one of the reasons he's changing jobs, because he has to carry stuff all day. He wasn't able to do his peak set. He's like, that 3-rep set there on the ramp up was all I could handle, but then he did do his pinkies on the rings for sets of 10. So for supplemental work right now, we do a couple different barbell lifts. He does sets of 10 here with the pinkies on the ring. And I would almost argue that from a mechanical perspective, he might get more hypertrophy if he brings that grip in just a little bit more, right? Because notice the wrist stacking at the bottom. And I've got videos on that. If they haven't come up, they'll come up in the future, as future uploads that I've made, discussing that with leverages and hypertrophy. Now notice here how much better the wrist stacking is. Look at that football bar. Now that's much better wrist stacking. And that's kind of what we want when we're chasing hypertrophy. Why? Because we get the most mechanical tension at the bottom on the pectoral. So if you're making your chest big, your optimal grip width is going to be wherever your touch point happens to be if your forearm is perfectly 90 degrees up and down. Perfect stacking. All right, so afterwards we do some band work. We do some band pull aparts for his rear delts. Get those posterior delts strong and fit. Again, shoulder stability, because we do a fair amount of pressing. And I want to make sure that we get enough volume there, because we can only really do so much rowing. And, in his case, I would like to see that extra shoulder health there. I'd like to see that. So we do the band pull aparts. And I find them useful for a lot of my lifters, particularly ones to where we are doing limited amounts of rowing and stuff, people with histories of shoulder problems. And I like them more than face pulls. I mean, it depends on the person. But I don't always like face pulls as much. Some of my people like them. I don't personally ever feel them amazingly well, is comfortable, but I prescribe them a lot. But for a lot of my guys, I like the band pull aparts. All right, there of course is one of his ramp up sets on the deadlift. And then he did a dead hang. He wanted to show me his grip is good because he's doing mixed grip on these. He'd been using straps. I'm like, why are we using straps? We don't need to be using them. Let's make sure your grip is good on deadlifts. But at his body weight, he did a dead hang here for well over a minute. He does do these regularly. We do it as part of his overall grip training. And I like dead hangs. So again, he's taking that wider grip though, probably feels a little better on his shoulders overall. So it's what we work with. But yeah, the dead hangs. Dead hangs are also really good for people with histories of shoulder problems. I do prescribe these specifically for some clients, and it's usually people who have issues there. They've had certain problems with impingement in the past. These are great to help opening that up, opening up the subacromial process. And they're a great grip training tool. And I get people who say, well, I can dead hang this amount of time. It's like, well, then your grip shouldn't be slipping on deadlift. You should be good, right? But oftentimes they're very light guys also. Like you weigh 160 pounds, it's not impressive to hold for a minute. It doesn't indicate a strong grip, to be fair. You might have one, but that's not indicative of it. It was just not that much weight. He did do only one rep. He said, this is all I felt like I had on that today with 210 kg, but he did hold it at the top. Again, displaying that the grip is good to go, and he did that with mixed grip. All right, afterwards we finish up with safety bar good mornings, and again, we've had a lot of progress here. His hamstrings were so tight at one time that he could not do good mornings at all. They were excruciatingly painful. Now look at him, he's loading them up. He's got those 25 kilo plates and then other plates. So the weight's coming up. We're getting up to respectable weights on the bar with these. So that posterior chain is getting stronger, right? It's still his limit on his conventional deadlift, in my opinion. My opinion on it as a coach. And I think we see that displayed when we look at what he's using still for the reverse hypers. We do the band work here on the deadlift day. I let him do some band curls. Again, good for the tendons, helps keep the biceps growing a little bit, but really all we do for arms for him is bands. He's very genetically gifted there, and all that carrying has made them grow no matter what. And then, of course, we finish up with more reverse hyper extensions, which, we live on that. I believe the reverse hyper builds conventional deadlifts. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.